once again, take two. I was actually explaining to the world that I was playing around with my micro settings, and of course, Sod's Law suggests, in doing so, I completely cut myself off from the world in terms of the audio world. Welcome one and all to the GameGuru MAX live broadcast, number 44. My name is Lee Bamber, the CEO of the Game Creators, and for the second time today, can everybody hear my voice? We can hear you. Thank you, Preben. Wonderful. I apologise for the 40 seconds of technical hitch, but I think we all have to keep looking at our speakers and our microphone settings 15 times a day. I don't change my hardware. The operating system decides, wouldn't it be great if we completely randomise all of your device settings every day to keep you on your toes? I don't think it's a particularly great feature, but there you have it. So, what is the format today? Well, I get to show you little bits of GameGuru MAX's internal development, and you get to ask some questions. If you're joining us live, you can ask your questions, put a question mark at the end, and towards this broadcast, I will answer as many as I can live, and the ones I don't get to, I will post as text-written answers in our GameGuru forums, along with a recording of this broadcast. So that is the format for today. But before I get stuck into showing you a bit of progress, I want to announce that we have found a winner. GameGuru MAX launched its first ever competition. The competition was to create a convincing jungle scene, a smallish jungle scene, using the jungle assets that we released in a previous build. And the entries were great. It was hard to choose one, but we finally picked a winner. I have just announced that into the GameGuru forums and our news section and our other website, and also on Steam as a cross promotion. I'm about to blitz them out onto Facebook and Twitter and Discord and all the other social channels that we occasionally occupy. So congratulations to the winner. So check out that later after this broadcast. So without further ado, I'd like to show you some software. So hopefully everyone can see my screen, they can hear me. So if I press this button, you should be able to see the software. Now what I want to show you today is a little bit further along on the model importer, because there were a couple of issues and those have now been resolved. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, what is this model importer? It's the one thing that I consider to be quite important for GameGuru MAX. In fact, it's the conduit for you to get all of the assets that you might want to make your game. Because once you run into the stuff we provide in the box, you're going to want to go and find all the stuff that you need to make your game idea a reality. So the way you get at the importer is, obviously you're browsing the stuff we've provided, but if you want more, you can click this Get More Objects button, which then leads you to a button called Import 3D Models. So when you select that, it now presents you with a file requester where you can go out into your local PC and find any files you may have created or downloaded or bought and downloaded. And so if I just pick this one, this is one we've been experimenting with. It's an FBX file format and it's of a palm tree. Now, you'll notice it's floating around in the sky and it's actually quite big. That's because the original artist was using a different unit scale. And we have a scaling mode here, so I can change it to units in meters, which was what the artist originally intended. And then it will automatically scale that tree, so it's part of the scale you'd expect for GameGuru MAX in relation to other things like buildings and characters and objects you may collect. But you may notice a few things wrong with this tree. That's deliberate, because I want to introduce some of the things that will be in this Friday's build. And for those that don't know, if you are a pre-order user, the thing that I'm showing you today, you get to play with on Friday. All pre-order users get Friday builds of the latest thing that we've been working on. So this is that software. So you'll notice this tree has a customized section and it has two meshes. It has the TR, which is the trunk, and the FO, which is these leaves at the top. But you'll notice right away that these are all the textures for the TR, the trunk. But look, you've got kind of a blank orange texture for roughness, metalness, and occlusion. This is sort of to indicate that there will be some attempt for the importer to detect textures But if it can't figure out what's what, then it obviously can't find the correct textures. But what you can do is fill them in yourself. So I know for a fact, in the same folder that the model existed, I got the TR, the trunk stuff here, and I know that's the roughness one. So I'll bring in the roughness. I also saw the AO, ambient occlusion, so I'll select that. And then I'll swap down to the foliage. Again, you see, there were all my surface textures. So I think we've got, yeah, there you go, roughness. And I know we've got ambient occlusion, so that's the AO foliage. And you can see now we've actually got correct surface texture, and that means it's fully PBR. But you'll notice that the leaves, it's like, where's all my leaves gone? Well, it needs to be double-sided, dink. So now it's actually rendering the both sides of single-sided polygons for you, so you get your foliage. Still not quite right. You notice that you've actually got these big sort of chunks sticking around the leaves. Well, this the alpha channel of the diffuse, you've got alpha channel information. You can use the alpha clip trick. This is what we recommend for all kinds of foliage because it's very fast, much faster than using alpha transparency. And at the resolutions we'll be providing art, it's more than sufficient, and it looks pretty cool as well. But this is the one thing I wanted to talk about because I'm sure you've seen this already in previous builds. We've just been making improvements to how it finds and textures and organizes its textures across multiple meshes, which is this one, the animation tool. Remember before, if you've managed to stumble into the model importer, you selected a model with an animation and it would say it has 28,000 frames of animation and it's really slow. Well, it turns out there is additional information that I've poured through in order to figure out a couple of things. One, the true frame number count, and two, the actual speed it should be running at. So now this tree is actually animating without me having to make any manual interventions, and so you've got a nice looking tree. If I close that down, I just want to show you a few more models and to also prove that the animation speed is correct. If I come out of here and select All, which is a sort of a crab, you can see it's actually quite big because it's still got the units in meters. Go back to the original scale. Is it actually only a crab? So it's a small little guy. So we'll look at him. Before, the animation speed was well out, but now it's actually animating correctly. He actually has 400 frames of animation, and you can see the default animation speed of 50 is playing it quite reasonably. If I look at, sorry about this, if I go to the browser, that one and that one, this is what I bought. I bought this from Sketchfab for $7.99. You can see how he moves, looks around. That animation there is that animation there, same speed. And you'll be guaranteed those same speeds, whatever the model is that you're importing. So we can tick off the animation speed and number of frames issue. So you'll be getting that in Friday's build. I'll just maybe show you another one. Also, instead of going through add to find the importer, just press Control-I. It's a shortcut to actually get to the importer if you've got a lot of models to import. I'll just show you one more, the Avalon suit. I want to show you because it's really cool, and we've been working on emissive, and I can show you that in a great light. You see, much bigger than a crab. What is this Avalon suit? It's a robot. This again, I bought this from Sketchfab quite a while ago when I was originally wanting to support GLTF. Since then, we decided, well, let's use Asset Importer. It's awesome, and it saved us a lot of hassle, and it was a really great move. Now, a couple of things, I'll just go back to the customize. You see this thing at the bottom? The artist added that to make it look pretty, but we don't need it. So if you go through the meshes and find that one, which is the floor, you can set the alpha clipping off, so you don't see that anymore. And the last thing I want to show you before I open it up for questions, see that eye? The artist intended that the eye has an emissive. So if I go to the head, you'll actually see that there's an emissive texture being provided and a little bit of orange in there. So what you can do is ramp up the strength, you see, and create some serious emissiveness. And of course I can change the color of that emissiveness as I want, but I want to leave it as the artist intended, which is why I've got a really nice glow. You'll notice there's some other little lights here and there and everywhere. So if you go and find that mesh, you can ramp up the emissive strength on those as well, and you get full control over that, plus pretty much anything else that's part of this render. So I'll be able to get this importer once, give it a name, save it out, drop it into my level, and then eventually you will be able to connect up all of the logic in a visual way. So you'll have control, for example, over its whatever animations you've got. You can cut up, if this is a long chain of animations, you can cut them up, lots of different animations, tie them into the logic, so this character will be able to walk, jump, crush you, whatever it is that the animations are doing, and then you want to happen in your game. And of course, it's natural that we also take care of things like collision and sound control, etc., etc. But you'll never need to script, you'll never need to create art. You just have to use the visual logic system and, of course, this importer. So that's what I wanted to reveal today, the fact that we're really moving ahead with custom materials and model importing support as more models are being given to us for testing. And we will continue to do that, I think, continually, because there are millions of models and hundreds of variants out there. So let me look to questions. I'm going to drag across. Let me just get the chat, get it over here, scroll to the top, look at the clock. 13. Now I do remember we had 2 minutes of false start intro, so I'm going to add 2 minutes official and then 5 unofficial minutes. So let's look down at the first question mark, which comes from TerraGameZ. Has the death animation been fixed yet? Don't remember if I asked this before. Death animation. There's nothing in the death plan about death animations. We do have ragdoll, which characters will succumb to when they are killed. And of course, if you have a third-party character that has an animation, which is basically, you know, falling over in a very dramatic way, then yes, you'll be able to play that. But as to our death animation stuff, I don't think I've ever mentioned that. So please do elaborate that question on the GameGuru forums and I'll answer more thoroughly. But you do both ways. You can do the ragdoll or you can provide your own death animation when the character runs out of health. Here's 3 question marks. Karthiban A, can anyone repeat my name? I could say it first time, but I probably got it wrong. Okay, looking for a real question and a question mark. Something probably related to the software would be great. Here's one from KC Productions. Can GameGuru MAX import character creator characters? If no, I suggest make it compatible as it provides a huge source for making characters. Please explain it to us. If you're using our character creator to create characters, there's really no need to then take that character and import it through GameGuru MAX and then export it again. A character creator creates the character object in the first place, and then you can use that as an object in your game. It's already in your game. You don't really need to have to import it again. If you mean, can you take GameGuru classic character creator characters and import them into Max, then the answer is no. Those old character creators were a fudge of like a body and a floating head and a floating hat. It was a very like a first draft of the character creator, and it wasn't very efficient. We had to draw 3 objects every time we wanted to put a character somewhere. GameGuru MAX, it's a single object. It's highly optimized. It stores all of the particulars it might need, like hair is rendered differently than clothing, for example. So we've made all those improvements and made it into a single object. But because of that, we won't be supporting the old GameGuru Classic character creator characters, because our new ones are much, and 10 more muchies, much better. So hopefully that explains a little bit of why that one isn't a forward compatibility thing. Looking for another question about the software. Right, I guess this was the part where people started to hear me again. Here's a question, another question. Can GameGuru MAX input? Oh, you've already asked it. Keep going. Look for a question mark. And KC Productions has asked this question for the 3rd time. Thank you very much. Hopefully you don't want 3 identical answers. Looking for another question mark. Is there one in that massive sentence? No. Is there a question mark in that one? No. Oh, KC Productions asked the question for the 4th time. Here's an actual secondary new question from Mem Goblin. And are there plans to add more than one default level change condition / event besides just the level end zone in Max? Absolutely. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. In GameGuru Classic, you just dropped down to a win zone, you entered this zone, and you won the level. Then you went on to level 2, rinse and repeat, level 3, level 4, level 5. In GameGuru Max, levels are non-linear. So you can drop in level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 1, you could walk to level 2, go back to level 1, then walk to level 3. You can walk from level 3 to level 2. Providing you produce those portals to actually get you between the levels, then you can organise your levels any way you want. And also, because of the improvements to the visual scripting system, you don't have to get anywhere to transverse to another level. You could set up a condition where once you've killed like 10 crystal monsters, you automatically get promoted to the next level, because you're going to want that. And multiple conditions, like maybe you need to kill 10 mushroom monsters before the gate will open and get through it, which I would recommend as a better way of doing it, rather than just instantaneously disappearing out of a level once you've achieved some vague objective. It would be better for you to design the game so you kill 10 things, then once those 10 things are killed, a gate will open and you'll walk through the gate, and that gets you to the next part of the level. But that's just how I would do it. There will be conditions which let you do these as you would expect of a modern game. You would need to have that level of conditional control before you can move on to other levels or promote to the next level of difficulty or whatever it happens to be. So don't worry about that. That is coming when I start talking about gameplay, because it's all built into that and the visual editing system. I'm looking for another question. Here's a question from Retro Gameblow. What if the object you import has multiple animations? That's already taken care of. If you've got an object that has, say, 6 animations, they're called anim sets, and within anim sets there's animations. Well, those animations are actually per limb, per frame, per thing attached to your model. But the anim sets themselves, modern models can have multiple anim sets. GameGuru Max scans all the anim sets and then it chains them one after the other. And it even takes the name of that anim set and places it here and actually pre-fills all the frames. So if an artist has kindly produced a full list of anim sets, you just get to see it all there. And then you don't have to go and find out where the frames start and end. The artist has done it for you. But that doesn't preclude you from the possibility of just creating your own anim sets if you actually know that there's one big 1,000 frame animation and all your animations are buried inside it. So you can do it both ways. Here's a question from a Super Confidential Man. Can we import parts into the character creator? No, not out of the box. I know what you mean. Can we like grab another head from somewhere and then pull out the head of a character creator and stick some different head on? The reason is the character creator is part of a larger ecosystem that we want to make sure works with things like AI and pathfinding and speech synthesis and heads that can look around, and we wanted to make a great experience with the characters you create. Suddenly ripping those things apart and sticking other things on, it's a great idea, but it's sort of more of an advanced feature, and we thought, well, we can push that further down the road. We will, however, be providing a full template set and guide, and probably a couple of videos as well, on how you create your own parts that are compatible with the character creator. So you can go out, create your bits and pieces, and then you can put them in a particular format, drop them into a particular area within GameGuru MAX, and then you've just expanded the character creator body parts list, and then you can select your own stuff, and then it's rinse and repeat. It's from that moment on, it's as if you're using the parts we've created, and you can then create your own wild and wacky characters. So hopefully it's a good short-term solution for those who really, really want it, and then further down the road, maybe there are ways we can actually make it easier. Maybe the meshes you import sort of less functional, but at least it's sort of an out-of-the-box thing for most people, rather than people who actually want to go through templates and guides and figure out how to become a technical artist in the process. So looking at the time, we are now exceeded our official and our unofficial, but as always I'm going to answer two most questions in the order they were asked from people who haven't asked a question before, and the first lucky winner is Mike Felker. Question: one thing I had real problems with in GameGuru is importing models with lots of texture layers. In GG it would only show a few, but I know there were more. Will GG import texture layers? If you mean multiple UVs, no. We only really support one layer of UV in the graphics engine. secondary layers of UV, we might sort of edge towards that with some pre-baking cleverness, but right now out the box and part of the dev plan, there's no support for multiple UVs, so you can't have sort of, say, for example, an albedo texture and then on top of that a dirt map using a different UV layer set. We're not supporting that with GameGuru MAX, but if everyone objects, it's like, we absolutely need these secondary UVs, please do post in the forums. Give your case studies and justifications, and if it's like, you know what, you kind of got a point there, then we'll look at the Wicked engine and see if it's easily supported, and then we can expand the custom materials to do that. But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you know, if we're missing something really big, we do want to make sure. Let's look for someone who hasn't asked a question yet. Scrolly, downy, and the person who gets the last question is I am Landman. Question. Could alpha clip be used to hide limbs if a model is created with separate meshes for limbs? Sure. You know, I could probably do that now. Let's say that head, for example. Let me just click back to here. Customize this first head, the alpha clip. It's got some alpha. But look, I've just hidden its head. Now you've got a headless robot. But here's the thing, it's only in the render. It's just not rendering that pixel. The head's still there. If you were to shoot that head, it will still register. That limb would still pick up that gunshot. And if this robot responds to high damage, if you hit them in the eye or in the head or something, even though you can't see it in the render, it would still pick it up in the detection. So using the alpha clip alone won't be sufficient. Maybe what you're fishing for is, can we just disable entire meshes so they're just not part of the render to begin with, and thus they're not part of the collision or anything else. That's a nice feature. Please remind me of that in the forum thread later on. So thanks for all your questions. I know there's more questions, and I will definitely get to them in the GameGuru thread later on once I've finished preparing this recording for everyone who wasn't lucky enough to join us in the live chat. As always, next Wednesday 4 p.m. GMT there will be more. For those who just can't wait, only 2 more days before you get access to the Friday build. And do let me know if there's any improvements that you think are necessary in the model importer and in the custom materials, because we've put a lot of work into it. Really happy it's taking on board a lot of models now and they're all behaving themselves. But if you find a model that's not behaving, please do let me know. And for those who are fresh to this channel, I just want to say that we are doing pre-orders. So if you want access to play with this stuff, we have a 25% discount in a pre-order phase whilst we're still in development. And if you do decide to pre-order, then you'll be able to get access to these builds every single Friday, where you can play with the software as it's being developed. So I hope you enjoyed this week's live broadcast. As always, like I say, I'll be back next Wednesday to bother you a bit more. But until then, thanks very much for your ears, and I'll speak to you next week. Goodbye.